All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of your day, coming to our training today. Put on by PSL consultant, Harold, you'll know him and Don. For those who don't know me, my name is Jessica. I'm the director of Fairness and Responsibility for the health department. Just a little housekeeping thing, because this is a safety, security kind of training. At the health department, if you do have any issues, concerns, you see something, and you want to say something, please direct your concerns to me. My email is top of my office, whatever, I'm pretty available. And it's also on the website. We're coming up with some new kind of reporting ways to report incidents that'll be coming out. We're updating some of the policies and emergency response things on the website in the buildings. Some more training will be coming up, building specific for that, so please look for that. In a couple weeks, we'll be putting on some lunch and learn training that our division is putting on for kind of a fun little, have to put together a go bag and what you're doing and what you're not doing, and people tend to overpack. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that. Some other housekeeping things, the restrooms are outdoors to the right. And please make sure you sign in and one of the sign-in sheets on the tables. And that's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Harold and Don.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Y'all can do better than that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is a wonderful day to be in St. Mary's County. Harold and I are delighted that we're here. One of the things, as you know, that you see is that we provide a series of safety training courses to you guys, and this is one of many. But before we get started, I would like to take a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives in Uvalde, Texas. And I want you guys to understand that the reason we're doing this training is so that we can place ourselves in a position to less likely be victimized. And that is the essence of all of this training. So let's have a moment of silence for those young folks and those educators that lost their lives in Texas. Thank you.
Once again, good morning, guys. Welcome. I'm welcoming you into your own place, right? I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to be with you again, to share with you this morning. As with every presentation that we do, I'll begin with strengthening the mindset. You know, some people may be coming in here with something heavy on your heart or something going on in your life. And I always like to give you some tools that will help you out. You know, because I have to be prepared, just like you have to be prepared for those unexpected calls that come in. Like I just took a phone call from my sister this morning. My mom was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And it seems like it's just coming so quickly. Everything is happening so quickly. And the woman that I knew all my life, wow, you know, it's beginning to change. You know, forget things. You know, the other day, in the refrigerator, she's still cooking. Now, her Alzheimer's is a little different because usually it affects and it will deteriorate the membranes right here behind the eyes on both sides. But for my mom, it only affected one side. And so what happens is she can still effectively do the things that she do at home. However, all the other things like drive and everything else, every day, because the Monday before Thanksgiving, she went missing for over 8 hours. She went out driving. I'm telling you, one of the hardest things for me, I've been, in law enforcement for a long time, and I've looked and searched for a lot of people. But when it comes to your own that you're searching for, it changes everything. It changed everything. It took me over 8 hours to find her. I didn't find her until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. And so every thought that went through my head, I'm thinking, because that's a piece of, I'm telling you, we always think the worst case scenario first, and then we build up. So immediately I'm thinking, well, can somebody carjack my mom? So I'm calling my wife, and I'm telling her I need all the guns down here right now, so we can go out there and do what we have to do. But then after that, calm down, and I began to think, I said, well, I've learned about God all my life. So I asked him, I said, if you're real, show me your day. Show me where my mom is. And I can tell you today, moments later, we get a phone call where this young man, and if you saw him, you would never think that he would do this. That's why we never judge anybody. We never judge a book by its cover. This gentleman, young guy, he assisted my mom. And the young gentleman was able to, only number that my mom can remember at the time was her sister. So she called her sister. And instead of my aunt telling the young man to just have her stay there, that we will be right there. Now, know that a silver alert and everything's already been posted. So police and everybody's looking for her. So she told the young man to drive her home. And of course, my mom is already, I told my wife, as she was missing, I said, I can feel that my mom is cold. I didn't know about it. Of course, it was 32 degrees outside that night. Not knowing that her heat had stopped working in her car. And so now, where you would use the defroster to free up the windows, it was clogging up the windows now, so it even made it worse for her to see. The call came in. All my police skills just kicked in. I said, well, they say she's up on Route 40. So I'm going to go call from the eastbound side, but she's got to be coming down this way. And I tell you, moments, the light turned red, the cars came down, and I see her car. What a relief. So I jump out and I go to the car, and someone thought I was carjacking, and the way I came out. I didn't look as happy, it was a mixture of happiness and anger at the same time. But I ran over there to her. She had been driving for hours, urinating on herself. She was so cold, and, so we were able to get her home. But I'm telling you, that experience was something like no other. So I'll tell you today, guys, I am no college graduate. I didn't graduate. I went to college, but I didn't graduate from there. But I'm telling you, everything that we teach you, everything that I teach you, I've experienced it. And I've experienced tools to help me through it. And now, one of the most amazing moms in the world is struggling. And I can't do nothing about it. Right? NBA, once you get that silver alert, all of a sudden now you got to take all these NBA courses, and it should be 86 years old on the 20th. There's no way she's going to pass it. But she don't have that understanding. She figures as long as she drove all those hours and did not crash, that she is fine. She's still trying. So try to understand why NBA is now taking her license away from them is pretty tough. So I'll tell you today, guys, in spite of that, I am truly thankful for everything in my life. I'm thankful for the time that I had with my mom. She's not the same mom. So whatever you're going to do, just be grateful in the midst of it and watch what happens. The handout that I gave you, the first one is the secret. Now, you can post this if you like, at your desk, on your refrigerator, wherever it is, when you want to do something, this will remind you and give you some guidance on things on your workplace, at home, in your relationships, wherever you are. These outlaws are great. And we're going to go over them real quick. The first one says, I promise myself to be so strong that nothing can disturb my peace of mind. Now, wow, isn't that something? So this morning, I had to utilize that, right? No matter what my sister called crying about, I can't allow that to affect me today. I still got to keep going. So no matter what's going on in your life, keep fighting. To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person I meet. To every person you meet, especially you guys are in the line of service. So even when you can't provide them something dealing with health, always leave them with some type of encouragement to go on throughout life. I do that every day. I don't think I missed anybody in here this morning. They said, well, I know you just came in. But I have missed too many people this morning coming up to shake your hand to make sure you are okay this morning. And if you're going through something, we're going to give you something to help you. To make all my friends feel that there is something worthwhile in it. To look at the sunny side of everything and make my optimism come true. I choose to believe in that, guys. No matter what you're going through, don't look at that problem, don't look down at it. I apologize. Don't look up at it, look down on it. If you're on top, you're looking over it, you can see it all. Figure out how to work it. To think only the best and to work only for the best. Some of that we can't control, right? Well, we can. If you're working for somebody that just ain't right and you're just not meshing, that might not be a place for you. You spend so many hours of the day at work. You spend more time here than you do at home. So this got to be a safe haven. Make it that way. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as I am about my own. And many times in the workplace, guys, people get promotions. People are rising up. And a lot of times we're looking and saying, how in the hell did they get that position over me, right? But maybe it's just not your turn yet. You don't know what they went through to get where they are. Somebody had to see something in it, right? But your turn is coming if you just stay focused. Get happy about their success and watch what happens for you. To forgive the mistakes of the past and press on to greater achievements of the future. We all have things in our past, some of which people don't know nothing about. Right? But those things haunt us on a regular basis, no matter how much we try. It still haunts us in the background. I've never seen too many people go forward looking back. Right? Let that go. Move on. Don't let anybody else keep you tied down to your past. To wear a cheerful expression at all times, to give a smile to every living creature we meet. That's what I do. That's what you should do. Everybody you come in contact with, don't let them look at you and be able to tell your story. No, you should be smiling and greeting, and what we give out is what we give back. What an amazing life. To give so much time to improving yourself that I have no time to criticize others. Isn't that powerful, y'all? Isn't that powerful? Huh? We're so busy looking at everybody else that we forget to sweep around our own front door. We don't even look in the mirror because we're afraid of what we see. If you fix it, change that. Watch how your relationships will grow. Watch how your teamwork, productivity, and everything will pick up when you begin to love on each other. And what I mean by love on each other is encouragement. You know each other well enough to know when somebody's going through something. Come on, guys. Life is amazing. Let's not waste any time. To be too large for words, too noble for anger, and too strong for fear, too happy to permit the presence of God. Right? This morning, it got me. Once again, does anybody driving that fast lane at 55 miles an hour? If you're in here, let's talk about it. I get so upset with you. Like this morning, it got me. I had to remember. I had to go to South Reading because I was so mad at the individual was sitting there. When I went by him, they gave me the number one. Right? That's what I look at it. I think that's what they call me number one this morning. But the whole deal is, I allowed it to get inside because I was mad. Anybody that knows me don't know that I love me. I love my worries, I love my fears, I love my pain, I love my past, I love everything about me. It took me a long time to get here, guys. But what's the thing? They got an enemy inside you, right? Outside can't hurt you no matter what they say. Don't be no fool, man. So live in the faith that the whole world is on my side, so long as I am true to the best that is in me. God, I want you to take time whenever you're going through something, whatever, take time to read those guidelines. The second one you got out about the book right here, you file agreements. Once again, guys, those 5 agreements. They can be rules that you live by. Be impeccable with your word. Never take anything personal. That's hard, but we're working on it, right? Never assume anything. Wow, we figure these 7 things out to life. What an amazing thing it will be if you stop assuming. Stop taking things personal. Get that ego off your shoulder. I let my ego work for me. It pumps me up as my biggest cheerleader. Always be your best. You can never fault yourself if you do your best. Be skeptical of everything but willing to learn. If they ever prove those facts to you, and it's factual. Some people nowadays, the way the world is going, you can get facts, and you still won't change your mind. You're so logical to it. But be willing and be ready. I'm thankful for each and every one of them. You go through something, they don't worry about it. You know, I'm a certified life coach. Yeah, so I go around, I don't mind talking on the phone to you for a while, get you where you need to be, right? That's what I do. That's what I do for a living. And because of that, blessings come my way all day long. Yeah. So I'm going to present you with my father named Clown. You know, he's my brother from a different mother, but he's a special guy, and you guys are going to have a lot of fun with him this morning. Thank you so much. Get ready, guys.
All right, here we go. But we got the same bar. That's what matters. This morning, my name is Don Bridges, and I enter my 30th year within in law enforcement. And for the majority of those 30 years, I have worked in the area of school safety. And I can tell you that the last week has probably been the most difficult week of my entire time. And I would like to say that many of the ideas, many of the recommendations we are bringing here as it relates to safety are many of the safety techniques that we have been employing in our schools for the last 20 plus years. One of the things that you hear so much about now is the term de-escalation. De-escalation is very, very critical to us when we're dealing with those individuals that are in crisis. And what we've done here is we've listed what de-escalation means. It refers to behavior that is intended to escape escalation of conflicts. One of the roles that I play on the police department is I'm a crisis negotiator. And I can tell you that everything that we're going to bring to you are practices we use every day in the real world. When there's a crisis, when there's a person that is in crisis, and they're thinking about harming themselves or others, there's an entire process that takes place. And what we'll do today is to share with you some of those strategies that we have used within my county for over 40 years. And I can tell you that those strategies work. And what this training is geared to do is to provide you with one more set of tools for your toolbox. You guys are just like us. You are first responders. And when we think about first responders, responding doesn't always mean that it has to be a physical response in terms of you going there. You can also respond over the phone. When you're dealing with that individual that is in crisis, you have to possess that skill set to de-escalate that situation, to talk them down. You guys do that every day in the jobs that you do. You are truly where the rubber meets the road. So listed here are some of the de-escalation techniques, and then we're gonna cover all of them: personal space, body language, tone, how you go about saying something. the use of what are called minimal encouragers. One of the things we know in the field of negotiations, the first hour is the most critical. In the field of negotiations, what we know is if that person tells us, if you don't give me X, Y, and Z by 9 o'clock or in 15 minutes, I'm going to do whatever. What we do is we remain calm and we talk right through that deadline. We talk right through it using all of the strategies or many of the strategies that we are going to share with you today. Reflective listening. We're going to talk about open-ended questions. We're going to talk about different facets as to how we go about talking that person down, how we go about making the best out of a bad situation. That is the world you live in. That's the world that we live in. These are issues that we deal with every single day and 3 times on Sunday. So we talk about personal space. We have to be very, very conscious of our personal space. Personal space can end up being a trigger. So personal space is something that you have to be conscious of. And what is the appropriate personal space? Well, much of it deals with the person. Do we agree that personal space means different things in different cultures? Y'all ever seen that person that gets all up in the grill when they're talking in? And you want to back up? So we have to recognize that personal space can be an issue. I'm going to play this video here really quick, and hopefully this time, Harold, I think it's going to play. I hope.
How close is too close when a person stands or sits next to you and you've never even met anyone before? We are not friends. Please get away from me. We all have our limits, and earlier Special Contributor Terry Richard went on a mission to test the boundaries of personal space. With a livable surface area of nearly 12 million square miles, but a population of more than 7 billion people, planet Earth gets pretty crowded, and over the course of an average day, people all have those moments. You just need a little more elbow room. So what are the rules of personal space in public places? Any experts suggest that human beings should keep 2 feet of space or 24 inches between. This is what we're looking at. This is what you're used to? Yeah, I don't like it if you are too close. Too close is when they're like just a couple of inches. Is this too close?
No,
Is this too close?
that's close enough.
No, there's no written rules of elevator etiquette. Find the least crowded spot, keep your eyes forward, and your mouth shut. Well, what happens when you break those rules? You turn over the elevator security camera and find out. Despite plenty of room, I moved uncomfortably close to other riders. Most of them stepped away. This guy even jumped, but several decided to hold their ground. I went toe-to-toe with this woman, and she wouldn't budge. And this woman, who stayed pressed against the back of the elevator, may have remained calm, but she felt something very different. I had a moment where I was kind of trying to push you or shove you or punch you or yell at you. Lucky for me, the average elevator ride lasts just 30 seconds. Next stop, the bus, where you're expected to choose an open seat away from other riders. We boarded this one with a hidden camera on a quiet day. There were plenty of empty seats, but I prefer to try people's patience instead. This woman was kind enough to point out the very obvious available seat right in front of me. While this guy made no objection to my sitting next to him, though he did get off the very next stop. So what's your general recommendation when it comes to personal space? Nearly everyone we met seemed to agree on how to cope with someone who gets a little too close.
Because people you don't know.
Nobody step back. Keep your distance.
But our unscientific social experiment revealed something more. When confined to small spaces, like in the elevator, people were more prone to protect their territory. While those we approached in wide open spaces, like this park, rarely moved at all, and this woman even started a conversation. Right? Because sometimes it's worth giving up a little personal space for fun and company. Michael Burnwell of the New York Times is back this morning to answer your etiquette questions. Good morning again. These experiments are so fun to watch. Let's start with elevators. And I thought Tara played the role beautifully of the clueless, annoying person who, when there's plenty of room around you, still insists on standing close. I can't get into the mindset of somebody who thinks this is okay to do, so I don't know the best way to talk to them. So please help us. There's a viewer who tweeted this question. When someone is standing too close to you in the elevator, what is the most polite yet least awkward way to tell them to back off?
Well, I think the first step, no pun intended, is to take a medium-sized but conspicuous step away from this person.
Okay. Personal space it is one of those things that makes all of us kind of uncomfortable, but those are things that we deal with. Okay, so when we look at the 4 personal spaces, okay, we're going to talk about what's called intimate space. That's 1 feet or closer. Then we talk about casual space, which is 1 feet to 4 feet. And that is something that is normally reserved for our close friends, people that we know, people that we commonly engage with. And then we talk about social space. That's 4 feet to 12 feet. That's going to be that individual that you really don't know. Those would probably be the individuals that say you would be dealing with within your profession. We tend to want to have that space because it makes us feel very, very comfortable. Then we talk about public space. Public space is 12 feet and beyond. That is that anonymous person that you really don't know. That is that individual that you come into contact with on the street. Personal space can be defined as personal space. Persons who are prone to violence or experiencing untreated mental illness require greater personal space. That's to tie into some of the individuals we may deal with within our profession. And then what that space does for you, it also provides you with a degree of safety. In the earlier courses we were teaching here, what did Harold say about what that stance should actually be like? What should that stance be like, Harold, when you're dealing with that individual?
So I'm nice in it, and I can be just as polite with everyone, but my stance is always, my feet are shoulder width apart, my hands are always up. My hands are always up. Even if I'm going to approach someone, someone that may be slobbering or whatever, and you want to go and touch them, a lot of times we gotta be prepared, because they may not want you to touch them, come around with an elbow. So one of the important things about personal space, guys, especially in the jobs that you're dealing with a lot of city code. Sometimes you don't know what's going on with them, but you can see in their eyes that something is going on, and you just don't want that person to get so close to you. What are some of the things that you do? Anybody? What are some of the ways that you react when someone comes into that uncomfortable zone? Yes. Knee mother, okay. And what else? Yes. Take a step back, anything else? Okay, well, I'm saying this sometimes, when we go to make that step back, right? What do? They follow us. So a lot of times, guys, we gotta make sure that we keep our hands up, right? Keep your hands up. If you're gonna back up, someone keep your hands. Hands are up at all times, because you never know what the encounter may be. A lot of times, we underestimate people. Does everyone know about Dave Program? The black belt, karate, all kinds of champions. Does anybody know that? So we're just looking at it. You never know. So you will let that smile walk right up on you, and before you know it, get to the head, right? So therefore, guys, let's keep that distance. And we're going to talk about that in situational awareness. View the body. No triggers that will trigger violence. Things that, I need to show you how something comes so you can see it coming.
So when we look at personal space, this was a situation here that was in Rockland, South London, where there was a call for an individual with a weapon. So eventually, what law enforcement was able to do was to create that personal space, slow the action down, and establish dialogue with him, and eventually the situation was resolved very, very safely. One of the things we know is that when we're dealing with individuals that are in crisis, time is on our side. Every study in the world shows us that if we would slow our roll, take our time, and the longer we spend having dialogue with that person, the greater the chance of the outcome being successful will be. So time is always on our side. And the caveat, of course, is if the person isn't doing anything that is violent. So if you have that individual that you're dealing with, be it on the phone or in person, and if they're just going off and they're just letting you have it, what's the best thing you can do? Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. They can talk all they want. Because what is happening as they're talking? They're getting it out. Absolutely. We had a guy about 2 weeks ago. We let him go for, we get a call. We're outside of the apartment door. And I can tell you, they have switched his meds. And he stayed up here for about 5 hours. Boy, did I have a migraine after we got through talking with him. But the bottom line is it ended up being a situation that ended with no one getting hurt. So as long as you're talking and they're not doing anything that's of a violent nature, one of the things we know is to let them go. And if you're on the phone with that individual that is letting you have it, let them go. And then we're going to go on further within this presentation to talk about minimal encouragers, how you go about making comments that are going to solicit dialogue where they're going to keep on talking.
One of the things, guys, I want you to do today, I want you to be honest. So if we ask you, what do you do on the phone when somebody is yelling at you? Let us know. So if you're that person that just can't take it, and they're yelling at you, and your ego say, you gonna let them talk to you like that? And then all of a sudden you just walk right back, right? Speak out of that. I want to know who you are, right? So these things, we have to be so. If you have signed up for something that's much bigger than you are, gotta get to throw that ego off to the side. Now, does everybody know Jesse over here? Wow. Get to know the people who are working with you. What a powerful young man. He got that yellow shirt on because he a red sunshine. But you know what? His walk is different from yours, right? So that's why he said when somebody walk up on him, oh, why? Because he's ready to go on through the attitude. Well, guess what? Some of us have never grown these dudes. So we're not being mugging nobody. So just be mindful of what you decide to do when someone walks up. We're going to test you today. Yeah, hug. Instead of saying, give that hug, yeah, but we're right when you're doing it. So when you hug them, what you get almost nothing. Sorry.
So then we start looking at body language. Body language is a type of nonverbal communication. Your body language sends a message. So we have to be very, very conscious of our body language. And not only must we be conscious of our body language, but we must be conscious of that individual that we're dealing with. What is their body language saying? When I came on the job, Harold, I was slim. I was about 135 pounds, so everybody was bigger than me. Now I got a little chubby. But when everybody's bigger than you, that means that you have to use other types of skill sets. And I'm going to tell you, what keeps you safe are your instincts. I will never ever tell you not to follow your instincts. Because after 30 years within law enforcement, my instincts, I think, as much as the training, that is what has kept me safe. When I first started working within a high school, I was about the size of a ninth grader. But it's all in how you walk. It's all in how you carry yourself. It's all in how you dress. People are watching you when you're not watching them. And what we've got to do is we've got to be conscious of our body language as well as the body language of other people. Because that body language is telling you something. Now that just went way too fast. I have no idea what just happened there. I mean,
it was your body language.
Okay, so Harold was talking about that interview stage. Look at that officer. Both officers are in a version of that interview stage. And I'm telling you, I'm swearing you into that you are now authorized to use that law enforcement interview stage. And from the standpoint of law enforcement, when we do that interview stance, the gun's going to be where? Back here. so the person can't get to it. The interview stance wouldn't be this way because they can grab your weapon. But the hands are free in all of those cases. You guys are out there in the field, maybe you're in an office. These are all strategies that you can use that are geared toward making sure that you keep yourself safe. That's another form of body language. That's a very, very, that individual feels a certain level of comfort, and I would never question why he is seated like that. That would probably never, ever be me because I can never get back up. But for the sake of that photograph, that's another example of like body language. And not only are we looking at the body language of the officer, but I also look at the body language of that young man that he is talking to. Watch the body language.
Looking at that picture, right, guys? One of the things that you all do, you meet people where they are.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So you meet them, so you may get down to that line. But whatever you do, don't sit on your butt like that. Why? You have to be prepared to move at any given time.
Well, how would you sit there?
Well, I wouldn't sit at all. It depends. If your knees are bad or whatever it is, you might want to stay standing, but you keep your hands in an open form. So your hands are this way, right here. You're willing to receive whatever they have to give to you as far as, letting you know what they're going through at the time. If you can kneel down, when we kneel down, I'm right here and notice my toes are always, so I'm cute. So I always have the ability to push and get up if I need to. If I'm sitting in front of them, I'm not going to sit right in front of them. I'm going to be off to the side. As we talk. Hands are still up. So they approach, I still react, and I can stand up if necessary. So just in mind, you still have that time and get your part, but I always push you to be prepared for the unexpected. Right? And believe it, once they see that you're not, crime is an opportunity, guys, and once you present a position of opportunity, that's when it happens. So you can always be as pleasant as you are, but still show that this is the customer service.
Being assertive does not mean that you're not pleasant. Okay, you can be as assertive. You can be assertive and then also be pleasant, warming, and inviting. So then we talk about tone. Tone is everything. Tone is how you say something. Tone expresses a speaker's feeling or attitude. The tone in which you say something is very critical. People interpret your message by the tone of your voice. Can I get my cop voice on? Ma'am, I need you to give me your driver's license and your registration right now.
Now, how would you feel if someone came up to you and approached you like that, right? And you'd be like, "Get your camera ready, baby. It's on. It's on." So how about this? How you doing, man? Your license brushes. You see the difference. But in my mindset, it's still ready. I'm ready to do something just in case. But my position, I'm pleasant. This is the customer service. So I can still instruct you the same thing. But the tone of my voice allows me to work. But if I catch you in the voice that you hear so often, it's an interchange everything. You're so afraid that you think I'm a crazy officer, right? But what happens in this instructing room, and when we're dealing with people, sometimes you gotta be loud. Because you find out that the adults are worse than the children. They want you to talk. And then as soon as they get that thunder, oh, we're about to begin. All of a sudden, right into it, right?
Sometimes we're on that, we are doing these high-risk warrants, and we have the tank parked in their front yard. And the reason the tank is in the front yard is because everybody in the house got a gun. So we're going to get on that PA system, and it's going to be a very assertive tone. When the occupants of 125 Jones Street come outside with your hands in the air, do it now. And sometimes it goes on for 6 hours. But it's all geared toward making sure that those individuals come out and we end a very, very dangerous situation without anyone getting hurt. So we come back to that tone. Tone is everything. Tone is everything. When I started this job back in the 1800s, One of the guys taught me, they said, you can always start off, you should always start off nice. Because if you start off nice, you can always get nasty or you can amp it up. But if you start off like I was talking like a fool, you've already lost it. So under most circumstances, we want to start off in a very, very pleasant voice. And we can always crank it up. But if you start off way up here, you can't bring it back down. You've already lost it. 38% of communication depends on your tone. It depends on how you say it.
And some people just speak loud. Some people just have loud voices. But stop learning who you're working with. Because you have that partner, that knows that, man, you don't want to be fired up. So, no, just step back. I have this. So I'm able to step in. Oh, you already smiled. You already know who's already ready to scratch somebody's eye out. So you're there and just say, well, wait a minute. But you have those partners that are so eager to get involved, they just keep it, they just turn such a quiet, calm situation into a thunderstorm. Right? So find those partners that are there that can really sit there and speak to you. Because I can tell you, as being a part of responsibility, one of the things we couldn't stand. We were laying out there in the field, sniper position for hours. And they keep asking people to come outside. And they just sit there yelling and shooting around outside the house. And I'm like, let's go get them! But we have to wait. So I've learned a lot of patience. Yeah, learned a lot of patience. So learn from each other. That patient one that's sitting beside you, you're that one that's so willing to learn from that person. Okay? And then they will learn from you because that quiet person every now and then has to become a lion. Right? It has to be able to roar. So learn from each other. Tag team.
We have told you that, like, we have been in law enforcement for a long time, and then you guys have been in your field for a long time, and we know our colleagues. Being in law enforcement, when I worked the road, there were certain people that I did not want to come to my call. Well, that was the person that was going to take something that was very, very minor and blow it way out of proportion. So we have to also know the people that we're working with. We have to know what our capabilities are. And then one of the things we learn within the field of crisis negotiations is that we're going to do what you guys do. Most of the time when you start your case, though, you're going to have a little intel on the person that you're working with. When we respond to a person that is in crisis, we spend a great deal of time doing what is called intel work. What is going on within that person's life? What are the precipitating events that have happened most recently that have led us here today? Who are the people within that person's life that they connect with? And who are the people in their lives that they can't stand? So it requires a lot of background work. And one of the things that we're telling you is that if you're going to be doing home visits and if you're going to be out there in the field, spend a little time doing some of the intel. If you have coworkers that are here with you that have dealt with that person, then you might want to talk to that coworker and then find out what type of person you are dealing with. Very important. So when we look at tone focuses on being calm. We want to be calm. Whenever we're trying to de-escalate, we want to be calm. We want to use a soft and low tone. Because what happens is, when we train educators, one of the things we tell them is that if you're excited, what are the kids going to be? Within law enforcement, if we come into a scene and we're excited, then it amps everybody else up. You are oftentimes going to be viewed, and you represent a form of leadership, you represent a form of authority. Therefore, whenever you are dealing with a situation, or if you're representing St. Mary's County, you have to represent this county in a professional way. And that professionalism starts with how you're carrying yourself and how you come across. When we look at tone, some of the things we don't want to do, we don't want to argue. Because when you're arguing, and you're going like back and forth, we don't win those shouting matches. Because when we start doing that, guess what that means? We are just like them. We lost control too. We're supposed to be here to help them out, and guess what? We about as way off key as what they are. So we've got to work hard to maintain that certain level of calmness, professionalism, so that we can get through the situation. So when we look at this little tone exercise, we can say, sir, I'm here to help you. What do you need? And we can say it in all four of those different ways. So if we're saying it in a suspicious tone, people read how we sound. If we're saying it in a helpful tone, that comes across too. If we're saying it in a patronizing tone, people know that. So we've got to be very, very conscious as to how we come across, what our tone is. And I know sometimes as regular folks, because we're all like regular folks, we have issues within our home. Maybe we just had an argument with our spouse, or maybe our child just got on our last nerve. But when you're providing that service, you've got to put all of that behind you for the good of the order. And if you were saying something in a very, very irritable tone, that would come across as well. So we're going to talk about active listening techniques. Minimal encouragers. I had the fortune of attending the FBI puts on one of the best crisis negotiation schools in the country. It is a 2-week school. You go to Quantico and they run you through all types of drills. And I tell you, long days, but it makes you a better person because they get into all of this. These are all of the fundamentals that we use within the field of negotiations. And I would argue that we can use this in almost any discipline. A friend of mine teaches a MBA course over at Johns Hopkins, and that course deals with business negotiations. So what we did, we had him as a professor from Hopkins come to our crisis negotiation team and teach this. Then I had the pleasure of going down to Johns Hopkins to teach this to his MBA students. And at the end of the day, what we realized was it's the same principle used in like different ways. And I would argue that these principles, this technique should be used in almost anything that any of us do, whether it is in your field, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're a fireman. These are skills that will benefit us all in terms of maintaining just all these skills of active listening.
Guys, sorry. Does everybody understand what listen to listen means? So this is the difference. So when we're listening to listen, we're truly listening to what you're saying. Otherwise, it's like there's a go. You know, when they sit that go, and you just wait to jump in for your turn. Well, that's what it is. You don't hear nothing that they're saying because you can't wait to hear that noise. You're fast and your own opinions. You won't even listen. So I'm telling you, in life, whatever it is, relationship, work, whatever it is, learn to listen to people. Listen. And when people listen, even with music sometimes. You know, sometimes you hear something, don't ever say all that, but you're fine. Listen. Right? So it's very important that when you talking to these folks, don't always tell them that you understand what they're going through. Why? Because you can't. If you have a big group, you have a open and shit, don't tell them. That will fire them up. I said, what do you know about what I'm going through? Have you ever been this? Have you ever been that to that? I always tell them, I wish I could understand what you're going through. So please explain to me a little bit more. Let me know whatever you're going through, maybe I can have some kind of resource. And if I can't find it, I'm going to help you reach out and find it. So don't tell them that you know what they're going through. You know, people will change their lives sometimes. Fire them up, start the fire.
We hear the term that's called minimal encouragers or minimal encouragement. What that means is that those are subtle, non-broken, short-throw actions that encourage that individual to express themselves more clearly. So when we have that person that is on the phone, we're going to use those minimal encouragers. And I'm going to tell you, after being on this team, on the team for 22 years, we find something within all of these techniques that absolutely work because we're doing it all the time. And I want to tell you that we respond to individuals that are in crisis more today than we've ever done before. And with the escalating gun violence that is going on, we're using this skill even in situations where you have individuals that are in a house that we have to respond to, that we're merely trying to serve a search warrant because we're no longer running through those doors because that ends up being dangerous. So what we have to do is we have to use the science, the science of communications to keep everybody safe. So minimal encouragers, they can be like nonverbal, like if you're in person. That could be something as simple as head nod. Simple verbal responses. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I see. Okay. Something to encourage that person to talk to you. Because most of the time, from our perspective, we're going to be 99% of the time talking to someone we have never, ever met. In your field, oftentimes when that person is in crisis, perhaps you have had some type of past contact with them. And then one of the sidebars within all of this is whenever we're dealing with that person that is in crisis, one thing we never, ever do, we never lie to them. We'll have a guy that's in the house and he'll ask us, are you going to jail? Yes, you are going to jail. And the reason we're honest with them is so that we maintain our credibility. And to be honest, in this country, everybody gets out. So we could end up dealing with that person again. And there have been instances within our field where we've dealt with that person multiple times. And we want to be honest with them. And we also know that within our field, there are certain things we can negotiate with, and there are certain things that we can't. And the nexus in your field is to know what resources are available to that person that is in crisis. Know what resources are available to them, because most of the time, the precipitating event is going to be something that has happened to them that in your field, it may be service related. So know what is available to them, and that ends up being very, very critical. Then we talk about the term reflective listening. Reflective listening is a communication strategy involving two steps, seeking to understand the speaker's idea, then offering the idea back to the speaker. So you're going to tell me a story, and I'm going to, in my own words, regurgitate what you told me in my own words. And what that does is that lets the individual know that you're listening to them. Because oftentimes, what these people want that are in crisis, and you guys know people in crisis all the time too. I know you do. They want to be what? What do people want to be? They want to be heard. What else? Understood, respected, valued, all of those things. So this is another set of skills, set of tools that you guys could actually use. And if you guys want me to get you guys copies of like this presentation, we will give it to you. Because it is so important that in your field, you have tools. And if you incorporate this within your everyday way of doing business, you're going to be better for it. And it ends up being another set of tools for you. Okay, what would you do? You're visiting a marital clinic. Upon arrival, you learn from his roommate that the client is mentally ill and he had just called 911 demanding help. No further information. How would you handle that? See, because what happens is this. Texas got me all fired. I love school, I love kids, and I'm at the end, and I'm going to say what I want to say if I can say no more. One of the big problems in our field is that we give our cops guns. They have the ability to take somebody's freedom. But the paradigm of the law enforcement has to change. Because our field, just like your field, you got to be empowered to make decisions. You have to be empowered to make decisions. is absolutely costing us. So one of the things Harold and I decided was that we've been talking down here for a long time, and Harold talks like all the time. He never shuts up. But we don't know now. So why do we want here? So what we're going to gear this thing toward is we're going to gear this thing toward taking you guys, putting you in groups, and giving you a scenario. But 30 minutes you will be back in groups, you will be in charge of everything. You're going to have to make decisions. Because you make decisions anyway. See the law enforcement. Paramilitary, I get it. Uniforms got to be sharp. You got to look a certain way. I get it. We don't look like that no more. Everybody's wearing beard because that's different. But you have to be empowered to make decisions. And you have to realize that every piece of training you get, we're hoping that you walk out with something that's going to ultimately make you better. You guys are like us. You're in the life-changing, life-saving, life-improving business. We're all in it. We're all first responders. We're all first responders. You are the ones that people call when they're in crisis. When they need shit, they call St. Mary's. That's what they do. And guess what? That's what we all signed up for. We all signed up. So what we want you to do is to always start thinking, what if you had a situation like this? What would you do? What you would do is you would do your best. That's what you would do. You would use every resource. You would call everybody that you possibly do, and you would rack your brain trying to make the best decision. And in that decision-making process, if you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and to call somebody else that you work with, some other resource, it's all good. But what you cannot do is you cannot be the person that's going to sit there and do nothing. And to me, the only bad answer is the answer of doing nothing. Within what we signed up for, within what you signed up for, we all have what? We have a duty to act. We have a duty to act. And this county is investing in you. And what they're expecting in return is that you are going to use this training to be able to serve the people here better. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Very simple. You not know your resources, things like that. It's nobody's fault. It's your own, right? Because it's on your website. Now I know Mr. Trustin is trying to make it so that it's so much easier for you to find it. But when you show the court, they don't want to hear that you don't know your rules and regulations. They don't want to hear any of it. Right? Because it's already written and documented for you. And I know she's adding some things to make it even better. But use her as a resource, guys. If you don't know, ask. Ask. It's nothing like having that confidence of knowing. You respond so much better when you know what you're doing. So it's no excuse. You all say, well, I didn't know the policy. I didn't know the policy this. I don't know the policy that. When everything is already written there for you. Right? Know your job. Know it inside and out. Just like in situational awareness. You gotta know everything. You gotta be mindful. You gotta want to know.
And I would also add that what you'll find is that when you act, a lot of things fall into place anyway. A lot of things, when you're in the game, I always tell Harold that, like, when you're in the game, you know, and then you're doing it for the right reasons, then you're going to get some breaks. Things are going to work out for you more often than not. So what would you do? What you're going to do, you're going to act on it. You're going to act on that situation to the best of your ability. You're going to use every county resource you can possibly find. You're going to look into that toolbox that you got. And then you're going to use whatever resources you deem appropriate at the time. So here are some of the reflective listening points. So what we would say is you're going to focus on what that person is saying. You're going to show that you understand. You're going to restate what they're saying in your own words. And you want to keep the answer short and clear. So those are just some of the fundamental principles of how we use the skill of reflective listening. Open-ended questions. When we're dealing with that person that is in crisis, we're going to ask those open-ended questions because we're trying to get that person to do what? We're going to be here to 5 o'clock. Get that person to do what? There we go. Yeah, we're trying to get that person to talk. So we want to ask those open-ended questions. And if that person's going on and on and on, Lord, just let them go. When I worked in the high school and those girls got into a fight, I know that sounds sexy, but I'm going to talk about girls right now. My goodness, they'd be fighting over something, they'd be going on and on. I said, when did it happen? This is in the 8th grade. Girl, I can't even tell you what I had for dinner last night. You talking about something that was happening within the 8th grade. Keep on going. Let them keep right on talking. That's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing because people that are in crisis, oftentimes one of the things that they want to do is they want to be heard. Open-ended questions. Tell me about it. That's one of those questions you can actually say to like get them or to keep them talking. What do you mean? Especially if you're as old as Harold and you run across that generational gap and you're dealing with that person that is talking slang. And when you're talking to kids and all this social media stuff, they got codes and stuff, you don't know what it means. And if you don't know what it means, what do you do, Harold? You ask them what it means. And when they get up off the floor from laughing at you, they'll tell you. But you can't continue the conversation if you don't know what they mean.
There's ways to ask too, what do you mean? Right? Different tones that we can use, that allow them to keep on talking. You can say, what do you mean? And that's a good way to keep on going. What are you like? Don't you hear this? What are you talking about? What do you mean? So it's all about that tone once again, right? Yeah. So but we have to be able to get people on our side, right? And the way you get them on their side, you got to give them what they want, right? So you can't, when I say give them what they want, I mean, you can't, have that confidence, keep bouncing and fight with them. No, just listen.
Harold said something that was critical. Get them on your side. So if we're responding to that suicidal person, one person, I'm going to say, you ain't going to jail. Then they're going to ask you, well, am I going to the hospital? I said, yeah, you're going to the hospital.
Well, I put these handcuffs on my house. I'm not going to jail.
Well, that's what my boss makes me do. Whatever you need to say. But, right, absolutely. So you have to be honest with them. And if they ask you a question, that person that's in crisis, if they're asking you a question and then you don't know the answer, tell them you don't know the answer, but I'll find out. Okay. So when we start looking at this, is very critical. Escalating warning signs. So when we start looking at escalating warning signs for individuals that might be in crisis, is there any sign of intoxication or drug use? Whenever we do our intel for those people that are in crisis, we want to know from the people that may have been with them earlier, do they drink? Have they been drinking? Are they on medication? Do you know the name of the medication? And we're going to ask those questions so that we can try and find out what they're going through. If they're on a specific type of drug, we're going to find out to the best of our ability when did they last take that drug, and then we're going to also try and find out what that drug does. We're going to look at increasing anger or frustration, or in just regular talk. Are they overreacting to a relatively minor situation? And what you'll find is when people are in crisis, a lot of times they're overreacting to something that is relatively minor. So in discussions with that individual, what you want to do is you want to minimize it. Whenever we're dealing with people that are in crisis, whatever they've done, we want to work hard to minimize it. And the reason we want to minimize it is if we can minimize it, it has a tendency to calm them down. And if there's something that excites them, are we going to talk about that? No, we ain't talking about that. Like if you don't like your wife, we ain't talking about her. If you don't like your husband, we ain't talking about him. If you can't stand your kids, we're not talking about your kids. But if you like your chihuahua, we're gonna be talking about that dog all night. So we're gonna talk about whatever brings you down, whatever makes you come.
One of the things we're gonna do, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. And then when we come back, we're gonna allow you to experience a little bit of that and show us what you can do. All right, so let's go ahead, let's take 10, use the restroom, whatever you need to do. Then we'll come back and then we're gonna interact with you.
Okay. So when we start looking at those escalating warning signs, these are some of the things that you want to be mindful of. In police work, if you see somebody with their fists all clenched, in police work, we would call that a clue that something's not going to go well. So we've got to be able to watch those warning signs. And then we see this fancy term here that's called increased psychomotor agitation, which basically means that it's a wide range of mood disorders. And I can tell you this, working in schools for a long time, and then working also with people that are in crisis, there are just a very, very wide range of like mood disorders that individuals have been diagnosed with, and those are things that we have to be very, very mindful of. And Harold and I also talked about when we look at the escalating warning signs, we have to be mindful of that history of violence. So if you're going to be in a situation where you're doing those home visits, do some intel work on where you're going, who you're dealing with. There are so many public domains out there now where like you can get a feel for whom you're going to be dealing with, and we oftentimes reference going on to that Maryland judiciary case search to do the background work. And in those instances where like you feel that your safety may be an issue, then you might want to use the buddy system or perhaps have that person meet you at a public location if that's something that's possible. Your safety is so important. Like they say when you get on the airplane, right? They said for that oxygen mask, who do you put the oxygen mask on first? Yourself, right? So it's the same thing in your business, and it's the same thing in our business. When you see those movies where they're doing the hostage thing, throw your gun over here, and then we'll switch. No, that's not happening. Homie, don't play. We ain't switching that. That's strictly Hollywood. We don't trade lives for lives, and then we're not asking you to take 1% in Marys County because that isn't good. Your well-being is as important as anything else that you do. So factors that contribute to that escalated violence, loss of control or personal power that lead to safe face. We deal with that one all the time. When we're dealing with individuals that are in that situation, they want to always save face. So we want to make sure that we do nothing within our power to put them in a situation where they feel that they need to save face, because people will do any and all things in order to save face. The fear of the outcome or the unknown. So that when you are dealing with that individual where things are like escalating, if you can provide to them what the end result may be, or you may ask this question for that individual that is in crisis, and we ask this question all the time: how do you see this ending, or how would you like for this to end? You can ask that question. That doesn't mean that you're promising them anything. But what you want to do is to find out where they are. Personal history, substance abuse, and the biological and the psychological conditions that the individual may have. Trust your instincts. I think we said that earlier. If de-escalation isn't working, stop. If it's not working, stop. If it means you got to get the heck out, get the heck out. Come back tomorrow. We call that within law enforcement. We don't run from any crime. We're educated and we do what we call a tactical retreat. Same thing, we get the heck out. If it's not working, get out. De-escalation, just the overview. You guys are going to be that. You're going to be professional. You're going to speak in that softer tone. You're going to always be honest about your limitations. People will sometimes ask you for stuff that you can't do. I had this guy one night, he was going, he said, when you going to bring me $10 million? We're going to stop that conversation. That ain't happening. So be honest with them. Don't argue if this person is agitated. You not going to win that. If a person is agitated, there's no sense in arguing with them. De-escalation, this is the overview. Always be aware of your physical safety. Your physical safety is number one. If that person is escalating and then you're in a house with them, be concerned with your safety. How are you going to get out? If you're in that office, Harold talks about it. How are you positioned? Can you get out? Is that person blocking the door? Your personal safety. Watch your body language. What messages are you sending with your body language? And don't take it personal. Lord knows within law enforcement after 30 years, people talk about my mama all the time. Don't take it personal. You just become the target. They don't know you. They don't know you at all. They know what you represent. They know that you are the person there that is providing or attempting to provide some type of service. They don't know you. One of the things that we have to do within this business is we have to make some of these exchanges what I call very transactional. It's just a process that you go through, and you go through that process. Don't internalize everything. I can tell you, Harold, that over the last 7 years, we have so many younger officers that are in like law enforcement. Quite frankly, I'm gonna keep it 100 because I'm gonna keep 100 because that's what I do. They're a little bit too sensitive. You can't internalize all this. If you internalize everything, you're gonna lose your freaking mind. Because we know that we're dealing with people that need all types of services. They need help. They need treatment. A lot of them need medication. A lot of them are on medication and they don't medicate. And you know individuals that are self-medicated. So if you know what you're dealing with when you're going in, then it should help you to not internalize and to know that that person is suffering and you're there to provide help. Understand the factors that lead to the escalating behavior. And that's a wide range of factors. A wide range of factors. It could be almost anything. This is very, very powerful here. I love it. This lady is incredible. And I think that every person in this room, I really do feel this. You guys really are champions for the people you serve. And I think her story here is just amazing. And all the video work, I built it all up like that.
My entire life, either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happened in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reforms from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids run out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationship. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without significant relationships. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this group has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson, the kids should learn it, I should teach it, they should learn it, pay the full. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said that's just a maturity. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and hard years. Needless to say it was. Some people think that you can either have an individual relationship or you don't. I ratios. I'm not real good at that, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. I said, that's okay, Miss Pearson, you were so excited, we just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was often hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child with academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best student, let's put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us, but you can't make noise if you have to spread. And I gave them a thing to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I'm powerful and I'm strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, places to go. That's it. Yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be hard. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 80. I put a +2 on the paper and a big smile. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the road. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, well, when you do this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, my teacher sucks all the lifetime. +2 said, I ain't all of it. For years, I watched my mother take the time to recess to go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers, put in a desk drawer for kids that needed to eat it, a washcloth and soap for kids that didn't smell so good. It's hard to teach kids to sit. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Ms. Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I was. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mom died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students that her view. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never be seen. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids will never have sex. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough one show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationship. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway, because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to take, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You bet. Oh no, you bet. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educated. We're born.
St. Mary's, we need you to strive. We need you to understand human connections, relationships. You guys provide the same type of service within what you do every single day. When she talks about those kids, those are the community, those are the people that you're serving every single day. That is the demographic. The ones that die. That's what all of this is about. And it's so important that in your desire or in your quest to serve your community, you don't forget about yourselves. That's important, and that's what all this thing stuff is. Making sure that you take care of you. Because if you don't take care of you, then you can't serve them.
You know, guys, listen to what she was saying. I know she was talking about this, but it relates to us as adults as well. You know, foster those relationships amongst each other. You know, so every day you come to work, you feel good about it. You know, we developed a relationship where, you know, all of the teams that I've been a part of, you know, we didn't want to call out because we didn't want to leave somebody, you know, stuck on shit or something of that nature. We should feel that same way. You never want to leave somebody with a whole bunch of mess that go out and you know, learn from each other, love each other, and watch what happens. My portion of the training is going to be pretty quick. We're going to just go through some basic situational awareness things, and then we're going to break down into groups real quick, and we're going to have some real fun, and then we're going to be done. You know, but one of the things that I tell you all the time, that I truly appreciate you. I truly appreciate you allowing us to come and do what we do. So we're going to set this up real quick. If you have more, we'll set this up real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
You just think that
It's right there. Okay, guys, we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll. Probably gonna be a little exciting at times, but we're gonna get through it. I know some folks said they were cold in here. I've been burning up. It's like hot, you know, but we're gonna get through this thing. Situational awareness.
There you go. It's gone.
Okay. Situational awareness. Sometimes just being aware isn't enough, guys. We gotta have a plan. We gotta have some type of plan, right? Should roll quicker than this. There we go. The definition of situational awareness is the conscious awareness of your surroundings and the ability to proactively predict potential hazards and dangers. 3 stages of awareness is to observe. Look at that. Anybody see any of that? Isn't that something? So when I was at home, it was very clear. But the word is assess, right? Observe, assess, and react. Now, part of observe is stop, look, and listen. We're in such a hurry all the time, right? But if we just slow down just a little bit, we will see so much more of the picture. Assess who, what, and where. Who are we dealing with? Right? What are we going to do about it? And where are we going to go? React. We're going to plan. You sit down with your family in a restaurant. You get there, and then all of a sudden you hear this argument going over in the corner over there. You start coming up with a plan with your family. That's just all it is. So you do that. Everybody does that when you go to the restaurant. You're not just thinking about eating a meal, right? You're looking for the door. You're looking for the avenues of escape, right? Okay. Hopefully you will. You're going to plan. Then you're going to decide who's going to do what. Everybody has a role. Everybody's going to move, right? And then we're going to execute. We're going to go through it. Non-verbal communication. Stage 1, when we talk about observe, when we go into a situation, I don't care if it's at work, if you're doing outreach somewhere, walking to your car, or wherever you are, the first thing we're going to observe is the people that we're going to be encountering. We're going to look for their description. Their expression, the facial expression tell you a lot. If you walk into a room and everybody seems to be mad, something is going on. You need to start really letting your spidey tingles come up. When you walk into a specific culture, this one group, they invited a wife and I to come to this function. And we all dressed up. The wife had on this beautiful long fur coat. And when we walked in, oh my goodness. It was totally different. It was a whole different culture. Everybody was dressed in Indian garb and everything else. I was like, oh, we came in here just the wrong way. But once again, we were able to adapt to our environment. Places, workplace, home, restaurants, wherever we are. And things. We want to look for warning signs, animals, and nonverbal communication. Now, the one thing about when we talk about those warning signs, if y'all do an outreach, and you're walking up to a home and you see no trespassing, you see beware of dogs. Now, sometimes we have those beware of dog signs up there just to scare you, right? But in a lot of cases, there is a vicious dog in that house, and you may think you're the animal talker. Right? Think you can whisper anything until your door opens up, right? Now, listen, watch those signs. Some of the nonverbal things that we talk about, nonverbal communication, is the act of exchanging. Like I can look at your face sometimes and tell you before, right? I'm watching, right? You can watch somebody's face without them saying anything and tell if they're mad. You can look at someone's face and see concern if they're worried about something. These are nonverbal communication. The same thing if you're walking into a situation and you see some suspicious guys and girls over there and they just watch everything. You watch their eyes. You know, a lot of times when they look like this, you know they're getting ready to move. Something is getting ready to happen when you see the eyes out of the trigger. They're looking for that opportunity. Be mindful of those. You may see that and someone is pointing their finger. A lot of times you know something's going down, right? They don't have to say anything. This gentleman, he's standing in line waiting for his vaccination, right? He got that niggas waiting. They told me to be there at 10 o'clock. You see something like that in line. You know, we see that. We say, okay, we might want to send somebody out there to provide some information to them. Let them know, hey, we'll get to you. We'll get to you. You're surprised. So many people showed up today, but guess what? We're going to take care of it. Right? So you're looking for things like that. Anytime you see a woman put her hand on her head, you know, and she kind of cuts it to the side, you get ready to get red rights, right? So you know you can predict these things just based on these non-verbal communications. Stage 2 is assess. If you look at the TVs, if you need to see it, but I'm going to talk about it all. Stage 2 is assess. Prior to making any decisions in any movements in a situation, that's what we need to assess before we act. And sometimes one of the biggest things, we got to assess ourselves, right? We got to know our abilities. If we go to a situation where we know, hey, they fight all the time in there, you know, and you ain't never fought, you don't know nothing about fighting, and you don't want to be a part of, guess what? You assist that situation, you say, no, I'm not doing that, right? Yes. All right. Electronic distraction, guys. When we talk about situational awareness, awareness is being alert, being able to use all of your senses. Right? Seeing. You see something strange going on. You know, that may determine whether or not you move or not. Right? You hear something going on. We sit in here and we hear some gunshots from the outside. We're not going to run it. Right? So you see, you hear, you smell. You come and you walk in here and you start smelling gas. Are we going to sit here and have class? No. Use every sense that you have. You go to a bar and you pick up the soda that they already poured for you, right? And it's got a strange taste to it. Huh? Use all your senses. Look without being intrusive. That's a big deal. Have you ever been somewhere and somebody doing that, you just staring at you the whole time? Guess what? We gotta be able to take those quick looks. So everybody, as soon as they came in, they were gonna look to see who was here. So everybody that came through that door, look around. They looked around. But we gotta get you more focused. You're not just going to look around to see the people. You're looking for excellence. You're looking for everything. You're looking for potential hazards in the place or areas that you may not be able to get out if something is happening on that side. You don't want to throw yourself in there. Do not stare or make your attention too obvious. Right? My son does it all the time. That's my younger, he hears something going on that we're having, and he'll rise up and look to see what's going on. Right? He just making his attentions all down, right? No. Do not stare or make your attentions too obvious. Listen for anything out of the ordinary. We always talk about that. Guys, if you're out, and sometimes being out of the ordinary is a conversation that somebody's having next to you. That person's on the phone, talking to their husband or something. And there it is. Everything that policies say and do with the department. And you hear them talking on the phone all the time. They never have anything good to say. You gotta be aware of that. You gotta listen to that person. And believe me, it ain't about snitching anymore. It ain't about snitching anymore. It's about saving lives and being proactive. You hear something that's out of the ordinary. That's like you outside and you have one of the community events and they got all kinds of music and everything going on, and someone hears that scream coming from behind. We need to take advantage of that. Let all our people know we gotta stick together. Be mindful. Listen for everything out of the ordinary. Scan 360, right? A quick scan. One of the things that we used to call it on the SWAT team, we call it quick peeks. So if you're going down the hallway or something and you're looking for the bad guy, sometimes you gotta do that quick peek. And with that quick peek, you gotta be able to take in all that you can in a matter of seconds. So be used to that. Train yourself. Practice with your families. When you see something, everybody, you only got 5, no, I don't need 5 seconds. You got 2 seconds to look over there and tell me everything that you see. Right? And you'll find out, the more you do it, the more you begin to pick things up. Because understand this, in the midst of an emergency, you forget. They ask you, what do you have on? You have no clue. No clue. Or sometimes if they have a gun, only thing you see is the hole. And everybody says how big the hole is. Everyone. So take time to start training yourself, training with your family and everybody. Get used to recognizing and being able to give a true description. Peripheral vision. See, that's what happened when that gap in my teeth just started working and all that extra air coming in. I can't even pronounce those words. You know what it says, right? Your peripheral vision is so important, guys. Because that's going to help you escape those blindside attacks, right? And a lot of times when you're out there and you're taking notes and doing things, your head is down, you're so engulfed and asking questions along, but you're not even paying attention. Get used to that vision on the side. My sister helped me out a lot with that. She used to always sneak up and scare us all the time. I don't care where it was, in the sense of when she pops up. It's there. But anyway, it helped out to being able to see those things out of the corner of your eye coming towards you. It enhances your awareness. Be mindful. Practice the what if thing. We drive through the harbor tunnel. It's like 1.5 miles long. The Fort McHenry tunnel, right? So some of the things I was just playing with my children. I'm like, everybody watched 24, the series 24. It was always some type of bio or some type of attack. Guys, what we got to hold our breath until we get out of this tunnel. So we start. Ready? Get set. And we're holding our breath to see who can make it. And I'm telling you guys, I can make it the entire tunnel holding my breath. Right? Because what I did is I was praying for it. And while we're in the tunnel, we say, what happens if there's an accident or something happens inside this tunnel? What are we going to do? Because sometimes we're so eager to get to the tunnel, we only see those open doors. But in the event of an emergency, they're going to be open to us. Right? So you always, no matter where you are, start planning for, start practicing the what if game. What if we hear something on the outside there? What if we out eating? What happens if you're on the bus? And if something goes down on the bus, what are you going to do? Play those what if games. Provide yourself with a plan, guys. Because I'm telling you, when you do this and you envision it in your head, if something happens, you react so much quicker rather than having no plan at all. We have no plan at all. You're not sitting there trying to figure it out on the spot. No. Envision different scenarios will enhance your response. We do that every time we work part-time somewhere. If I'm doing executive protection, the first thing I'm doing, I'm wondering, what happens if that bad guy comes? Where's my cover? Where's my concealment? Where can I engage the target? Because now we got to be so active, guys, because everybody's on their body on. And under stress, we always want to take 2 shots because we're worried about the heart. But now you got to be so focused that you got to shoot in the head. Right? That's some craziness. I don't want to say crazy. You get what you're saying, crazy. But that's some disturbing stuff. Right? See, I listen to your remarks that you put in our evaluation, and I only want to be the best for you. So forgive me if I say something out of the way. I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to do better. I'm practicing. Engage in complete awareness by utilizing your senses. We talked about that. When you walk into your car, right? We don't want to have head devices and things like that when we can't hear. We can't hear the little argument that's going on the side, right? We want to make sure that we can hear and see everything that's going on around us. Get off those phones. Take time. We can talk more later. Position of advantage. Avoid trapping yourself into a corner. When possible, never sit. And when you go to a restaurant, I know sometimes I'm telling you guys, you got to think about this. I know you're hungry. Your stomach is growling. You can't wait. And you're willing to take any table. But you find the back into the door. You can't see who's coming. You can't see who's going. Well, if you find yourself in that position, that's what you can do, guys. You can utilize windows, anything that has reflector. I can sit in a location, I start finding anything with any type of reflection on it. You can use it to your advantage. It can be something as simple as the napkin. The napkin that you can see something. Instead of looking to check your makeup, guess what? If they bust over there and you don't want to stare at it, look at the napkin. You can see everything that's going on, and you can hear it. These are tips for situational awareness where you're not going to be obvious about what you're doing. But you're listening, you start to hear it heat up. So now you see, let's go. We're not going to wait. I don't care how much it costs. We'll eat that food right there on the table. You know, my wife is fast at home, so a lot of times she says, no, we're going to sit here. You know, I'm ready for whatever goes back. You know? So she's bad. I tell you, one day we went inside of the house, guys, and we heard something downstairs at the door. There's something downstairs, and you know, usually, you know, the husband is sitting downstairs, you go see what's going on. No. You know, both of us are armed, we going down like we're actually in some type of squad invasion. You know, she just invaded. Thank you for her. Keep me alive. Exit strategy. Always have an exit plan that includes multiple exit points. Discuss strategies with your family and co-workers. Plan for your home, for buildings, for cars, public transportation, everywhere, guys. Have a plan. And it makes no sense for you to be the only one with a plan if you're hanging out with your friends. Right? If you're hanging out with your friends, you're going to lunch with your co-workers. Let everybody know, okay, yep. We going into this neighborhood. They got the best food ever, guys. But you know what? We gotta be alert. We gotta be alert. Now let you scream. You see something, you just start screaming. Right? You know, we fight. They kick off. You protect us until we get around. But you guys, whatever it is, have a plan. No matter where you are. Attacks come where we're most comfortable. Right? That's where we're most vulnerable. What do you think? Nothing is gonna happen. But if you have a plan, and you share it with your family and your friends and your coworkers or whoever you might be with at that time, guess what? Your chances of winning, I don't say survival, I say win. Stage 3, we talked about decide. Follow your instincts. A lot of times, guys, you get those instincts, but you ignore them. And you wish you had listened. These things can be in anything, in a relationship. Something told you. not to deal with that man. Somebody told you not to deal with that woman, and all of a sudden you're doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I wish I had listened. The same thing, when that hair stands out on your back. I got a great day, she stands about this tall. And every time she gets her hair comes out, but the hair stands up on her back. And it's like a streak that comes up and stands up. The same thing happens to each and every one of you. When you start getting that tingling feeling, you feel that chill, or you feel that hair stand up, or your stomach is saying, oh, you not know. Something is telling me that something is not right about this. Go with your gut feeling. Whether you're right or wrong, you will win either way. You will win either way. But if your gut feeling is telling you that everything is wrong about this place, if you do it anyway, you're going to find out and learn from it. Trust your instincts, guys. Plan. Plan how you're going to do it. Where you're going to go. What you're trying to avoid and who you're trying to avoid. Look at these things. As you sit there, that's all a part of your awareness. Be aware of everything. Think quick. It says trust your instinct. If you feel you've been followed, guess what, guys? If you're walking, and you got enough feeling that somebody follow you, quickly change direction and see what happens. See what they do. See what they do. If they truly follow you, or they're gonna mess up. Because you done disturbed their master plan. You disturbed the master plan by turning around. You know, we have to be ready to stick on our feet at all times. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do. Now I'm telling you, we did some, in order to get some of the search warrants that we used to get, we used to go around to people's houses and pull their trash. So if you have to come out of the house and your trash bag is out of your can and the trash man ain't come yet, you will. Right? So we used to go around, and what we would do is we would grab people's trash, and inside that trash would have, all kinds of stuff. You would have your envelope with your name, your address, which linked you to it, and that's one of the ways that we were able to develop that problem cause to come and get you. But one time, here we are, full of trash, and we dig through it, and nobody usually coming to the door and everything. This particular time, we picked the trash out, and they opened the door. And I stood there like my eyes was just like flashlights. I was born in the city. I knew it's time to run. I used to beg people to run. It was time to run. But my partner, he goes so quick on his foot. He said, girl, make sure you get all the recyclables. I'm like, oh my goodness. That was incredible. So now we go up there grabbing everybody's trash. We had so much trash that night. We go around and do the search warrant, they were completely gone. I was great. So I'm going to tell you, be prepared to think quick on your feet. In that situational awareness, you're walking through, something begins to feel not right. Be ready to move. Be ready to act at any given time. If you hear something, you see something, you say something. Report any suspicious condition that you may see, like that little fake coyote out there. Did that surprise anybody this morning? Oh my God, I said, Don, he's like, get ready to run across the street. It's getting ready to be those things. I'm going to enjoy it. No, I'm sorry. But I'm telling you, if you hear something, anything that may cause issues in your workplace, in your home, that may cause any type of possible bodily injury, any type of death, anything, you hear something, and if you see something, make sure you say something. It's all about being proactive, guys, and that's how we stay alive. That's how we come together as a team. Everyone being proactive. Don't worry about telling someone something. You have, I'm telling you, Miss Tressa, she's a lady of little words. You can walk up to her and, hello, you know, Miss Tressa, she's going to smile, and that's probably all you're going to get sometimes. But she's so full of information. So you got to kind of just go ahead and watch. So if you guys got any questions, you know that somebody's up to no good, get on that line. Call Miss Tressa, find out what you should do. What's your next step? Right? What you should do. Don't give it to yourself. Don't give it to yourself, and then tomorrow is the day. You could have prevented it by just saying something. Okay, guys, we got a few scenarios for you. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to break you up into groups. We're going to read out the scenario to you. And we just want you to take your time. John can explain that part a little bit better, how you're going to read details about it. But we just want you to take your time with it. And just whatever you think your options are, this is going to help everyone. This is going to help each other. This is going to help Ms. Russell when Ms. Russell she's putting together her policies and procedures. She's going to understand how people think, right? How y'all think. So as she's going through and putting those procedures and things together, you can say, okay, I understand how they act. We're going to go from there.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have three groups. This is going to be, so this would be one group, including this table here. One group, okay? This would be one group here, including this table, and depending on one you got to fall into this group or the other. You fall into group one, and you fall into group two. We're going to read that scenario, and what we're going to do is to have your group come up with how you're going to handle it. Yeah. What would you do? And we're going to have someone report back to the class as to how they would handle their situation. Okay, so feel free to get up and move around, whatever you need to do. We're going to have group one and group two. Harold's going to read scenario number one, and then we'll read scenario number two.
Once you get into position, guys, I will give you the scenario. And these are real life scenarios, guys.
There you go. Well, there we go. Oh, you just sit there all day. Hey, that's not happening. All right, here we go. There we go. Oh, and we got Sharpies too. We got Sharpies right out there. There we go. Sharpies too, see? Y'all got it right there because Harold can't see that good anymore. There you go. See, you thought about that. Okay, Harold. Okay. It's going to be group one. It's going to be group two. Read scenario number one, Harold.
Here we go. Listen up, guys. These are real live scenarios, right? Real live incidents. On June 5th, 2022, in Goldsboro, North Carolina, one person injured in an accidental shooting at the hospital. One woman was shot at the hospital, causing a lockdown of the facility while authorities searched for the suspect. The woman's injuries were non-life-threatening as far as they know. Law enforcement reports that the suspect who did the shooting is the victim's brother. It was an accidental shooting at the hospital. You guys, let's see. No people were injured during the incident besides the sister, and the weapon used was a handgun. How would you relate this to your people? If you were in the class, if you were in your office spaces right now, what are some of the things that you would do? Who are some of the people that you would contact?
And that's going to be group number one. That's going to be your charge. And now we're going to read group number two. So how would you guys handle that? What would you do? That's right. That's right. We don't know exactly. Yeah, right. In your office. We'll make it in your office. You don't know exactly.
What would you respond? I would show that. There you go. On June 4th. may actually threat towards your medical staff. He was arrested by the Oakland police for terrorism and Oak Star. So we're not going to deal with this part now. A nurse heard the suspect threatening to attack the facility if he did not receive pain medication for his back surgery. His words were, I better get pain meds after back surgery. If I don't get pain meds, I will do what the other guy did the other day. I will shoot up someone too if I didn't get pain meds. He didn't say what type of weapon or anything that it had, and he didn't threaten that he didn't have a weapon. And that's what you got. Yeah, he had his surgery, and he's come for pain meds. Pain meds that he had are you guys can't fix this problem. He's threatening something. You need to know what a weapon is, you need to know the weapon you're because, right? So if you can get out, you can get You have a very shoes. You have a very shoes. And your shoes. And you're right. Those are the positions. Two more minutes, guys. 2 more minutes. Get in on that. Oh yeah, that's good. Find yourself on Elf Magazine.
There we go.
We have colors, but we don't have any today in our department.
One more minute. 1 minute. 1 minute left of this ball game. All right, it's time. I know you're all ready now because you're great leaders and you're ready to go. And group number one, you know what group number one just told me? It's just a question number two. That's what they told me. All right, some of the changes we made to the scenario for group number one was it was not determined if the shooting was accidental. That was not determined. We took that out. And we also determined that the shooting occurred in the mall. So, who's our spokesperson for group number one?
5,
4.
3.
Oh, there we go.
That already worked. Well, see, there's a shooting that occurred in the building. It's already realized, we're not calling them, we're coming in. The dispatch, they are trying to. Yeah. Well, you would, in that situation, you're not gonna contact the person right away. Because, just another, that's right. But I'm just saying, that's exactly right. Now, you guys have your communication system set up. Is there a communication system already in place where if you need to allow them and alert someone about it? So do you know how to go about that? Does everyone know how to go about those alerts? Okay, well, that's something that we'll all make sure that everyone is aware of and have those things in place. Because you do have, so that's a great thing. Some places you go to, they do not have any way of notifying people of an emergency, but you do. So those are just things that, in the process, that are being taken care of at that time.
I think the key thing that you do, the key, is call 911. Right. And then concern yourself with what your actions will be. Are you going to lock down, or are you going to get it out of the building? What is it going to be?
No, something else. Now, the time to think about this is not this part right here. This is the time to think about that. This is, remember, we got to be proactive. So we already got to know. And it doesn't matter. It's like we almost can't pinpoint somebody in these positions because it can happen at any given time. If someone comes through that door and you're right there at that door, that's what you're the fight. Right? If a position comes where we see this, we're all going to be runners. Right? We're all going to get out of here. Unless we can't. If you can't, then we're going to find a place to lock down. Okay? So everybody understand. So I just want you to think that, so now when we talk about establishing like board captains, area captains like that, those will be guys that know their role. And when you put those people in those positions, you have to give that person has to be that one that stress well. Because that person may be the one that's telling everybody, come on. Right? They don't be the one that's going to put themselves out there and say, no, it's right. Right? So when you talk about in the office, it's special justice. You know, someone talking about that. You know, do this, do that, and I know each other's role. You know, just in case you're that person that's not comfortable from, you're that person that's not in the world, whatever. But you still look at me now. Okay, and I'm so glad that everybody from different units and everything, you can visit there, or you can be visited there. Everybody has some information. Doing the same thing. And the more we pass the training, that's what we become SMCHD. That's what we do. So we good over here. Okay. Now we have number 2. Did everyone hear what that scenario was? Everyone know what that scenario was? Okay. They had a gentleman who had back surgery. Right? He had back surgery. And whatever pain medication they gave him aren't working for him. So he's in excruciating pain. And he calls the center. He tells them, if they don't give him something that will work, and he refers to the shooting that just happened. That's how these copycats come about. They just want to repeat, some of us want to repeat, but we can't take anything for granted. If they call in and they say, you know, if you don't provide me with something, I'm coming to get you. What do you do? You already in place. You said that now, Paul. Do we have a code for the PSL team this morning? So we need to create one then. We need to get one.
What if you don't have one? Then you just go talk in real talk. Talk and call who it does, you need to call. There you go. That's right. That's exactly right.
It is more than that. Right? So when we look at this, guys, you're sitting there and you're dealing with the person is right there now. You're face to face, right? This individual, you can see that he's in pain, you can see that he's struggling, but you're asking what type of medication he's going. You know, because you want to provide. If there's something that, you know, he's taking that, you have something that's stronger and that will work on him more, you know, that's what we're going to do whatever we can to ease that right. And you can have nobody talking. So we're going to do everything. Everything to try to help you. But we can't allow you to threaten us. We can't allow you to talk about how we have harmed us. You know, we're going to help you in the next 60 years. So give us a chance. All of a sudden, you see this guy that is a monster. All of a sudden, his focus goes on you. Right? And if you have an opportunity now to start working with him, but the whole entire time you do it with him, we're going to stay right. We're going to stay right. Okay? Any questions? So you guys already got things split. And sometimes it's just a point of being able to get on your feet. Get on your feet. You know, what if this guy all on the phone? What would we do then? Does it change things for us a little bit? We need to alert everybody, hey, this guy just called and made threats. We need to get it out of us, put out that mass communication, everybody. Be aware of someone may be familiar. So rather come into the hospital, so we know how to look. If anyone sees someone outside, it's all about people laughing. Be mindful, if you see this guy, do not go after him. Call the police. We already notified the police to let them know the threats that we're taking. And then we're on the outside now.
Do we have to let him in? Do we have to let him in? Hell no, let him stay outside. Lock the door.
If we have a photo of it, we can provide that to the office. Anything that would be beneficial to all of us is in person. Or sometimes you may be able to get the police's address, if you have the address, and we can do what they call a check location. When we arrive by his location, the check will go off me, right? And we're not going to go deal with it 1 hour, which say you got, but your proactive move was notify the police right away. Notify the police right away, and making sure that all of the people are aware that Mr. John, he's complaining, back is like, go back out, he's spreading out on the issue. So just be aware. Remember, on our ice drills that we've been practicing on a regular basis. And one of the things to happen about everybody in the work group is coming around to your actual location in your office space to show you what to do if you need to lock down the place. Yes. This is what happens now. Now this issue, while you're at work, and you call the police about this incident, and are you talking about the police are taking too long to get to you, or? They staying outside when things are going down inside. Okay, you know what you do? See, this is the mistake that we all make, right? Safety begins with you first. With you are the first line of defense. A lot of times we just wait on the police, wait on the police. No, we can already barricade ourselves inside if we need to. If he's inside, we can start getting out, with various actions. Just remember, run, hide, fight. If you get over that guy right there, you're going to go, you got you back there, you may have to fight. So the thing is, I don't want you, if they take too long, don't wait. Time is of the essence, right? If you got that gut feeling that something isn't right, and you feel like, barricade yourself inside your office space. We're going to show you. We'll show you different rules. These stuff that you get. We're going to show you without stressing for it. And all of a sudden now, that large building that's your office is coming. Bad guys usually don't shoot what they can't see. They don't do it. And they're pulling you off. And if your door is secured, they're going to keep moving. Because it's got to be quick. Wow. Now, I can tell you, 9 times out of 10, now I know that where the police officers stood down at that point, but we were never trained to do that. We're trained, if it's warm, if it's full, we go inside. That's what we signed up for. We signed up for our life and life of others. So we're not waiting. And I'm ready to move these sheriffs, or all these sheriffs out here. They're coming to the party. They're looking for you. So I don't want you to worry. What I want you to do is just think. Whether you go work with yourself, whether you go home, whether you go find. You do it. And just know that she will look out for you, she's going to look out for you, he's going to look out for you. Everyone, we're going to look out for each other. That's how we live. That's how we live.
Makes me think of the video with the cops going in and people are scared and running out and talking to the
That's not good.
That's it. You listen good. You sharp. So if something was happening and you see gun, we come with our weapons in this direction. You know this direction is already clear.
Oh, you trying to get behind us so you get out.
But when you come coming back on our arms, don't ask for no losses. Say it out there. I'm proud of you. No. No, you guys, keep on moving. This is the safe zone where we're already in. Yeah? Keep moving. Everything is time-based, Russia. Everything is time-based, guys. Move. You don't have to wait for us to come down and show you how to do it. Get in your offices right now today when you go back and say, if something go down, this is what we're going to do. Everybody has that plan, right? Even the person you don't like in the office, you got to have a plan, right? Be mindful that go past your doors. Some of these doors may be magnetic, where as soon as you walk up to it, it immediately opens up, right? You got to know about those doors, right? In close proximity is for open up. Know your buildings where you are. Know the staircase. Know everything about where you are. You're not walking around the building. You're not just walking for your own home. Walk around. See where you can run. See where you can hide. Thank you. Y'all got any questions or anything today?
What y'all think of training? Because this is what we want to do. We want to keep on doing training, and then we want to keep it real fun. We're trying to kill you with all day, but I think that everyone gets some takeaways from this, and understand that I know that you guys are dedicated to like secondary, but when it comes to your safety, you do what you got to do to survive. That is the bottom line. It is 12:25. You got to go eat. Okay. So, you know, this is real. So listen, do the eval work. Thank you so much, and I'll be looking forward to coming back.
You guys have no excuse whatsoever to ever be walking around with a bad day. You can always contact me, and I'm gonna find some way to try and enlighten your life.
And that's like all the crazy.
There's no excuse.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You know she's out over here. Thank you. Yeah.